All right, let's see if this works. All right, probably. Hey. So,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's super awesome.
What's up? What do you want to do?
Well, hello, Eric. How are you?
Doing all right.
Well, thank you for joining me with the mix is almostperfect.com. I know you and I, we've worked together before in the industry, and I wanted to talk to you about a couple things. I know you and I were working at one of our previous employers at a warehouse. I know with a bunch of audiovisual. What did you think about QCing? Was it awesome?
Oh, so awesome. Taking all little parts and pieces and then trying to figure out where they go.
Well, isn't it? I mean, what do you think? You think it's very important to do this, for new equipment, especially, in the industry. I mean, I'm sure you've walked into, a job where someone didn't QC a piece of equipment and all of a sudden it's not.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
It's broken.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you tell me, like, what do you think is very important about that?
Well, especially on like a show that you're trying to run and then you get shipped bad gear and then you open it up and you're like, oh well, we have the what's it, ABQ lights or whatever, those fuel lights,
Yeah.
There's the little red pins in them that, but all the red pins are missing out of them, so they're just sucking juice. And so and then you don't have any power supplies to them and you're like, well, yeah, I guess I can just use a regular Lico to light this, whatever thing. But, if it's lighting a car in the middle of a ballroom and it's, the only access you have to it is going to be like, the magnetic attachments on the ceiling. You obviously want to have the right gear for the right job. And yeah, just not having the good stuff is obviously bad.
It's absolutely true. I have to say, and by the way, I want to ask you, what is I know you're a technician. What do you consider yourself? What is your
jack of all trades?
Jack of all trades in the AV. I understand.
Master of none. Master of none.
Master of none. Okay, but you know a little bit of all, so that's good. How long have you been actually in the industry?
Last 5 years, I'd say probably that's probably a little bit overshooting, maybe a little bit, but like 4.5, 5 years. But I mean, at least in the industry, like, I mean, I obviously took stuff in college, but I wouldn't say that applies to now. But I mean, it's more on my college experience was more like, learning and sort of post-production type stuff, but like very minimal, nothing like crazy. And then like obviously work experience has been.
You say post-production, you mean like post-production audio?
Yeah, mostly audio.
Why do I feel like everyone in this industry is everyone has gone to school for audio and they're like, oh, there's no audio jobs.
Everybody's an audio guy.
Everyone's an audio guy, but no one's a light man. And then that one light guy's like, oh, I am a light man. No, you went to audio. I hate audio. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's the lighting guys and the video guys are hard to find, but even then, like even just finding people that aren't
to run a Hog 4 to like do some basic lighting. Why a Hog 4? Like, why do people think that's enough? I mean, if you're gonna do like a huge thing like a trade show like place like McCormick Place down in Chicago, and you're doing like 100 lights and maybe a theater, like, yeah, that'd be the way to go. But man, I feel like why are some of these jobs we have, like, you only need to run like a little, like, heck, like, I think a CL is still kind of like overkill.
CL's nice though. It's just have and like
it is basic. It's basic, but sometimes I feel like that's overkill for some of the jobs.
Sometimes,
I guess. So back to QCing. So what are some other things? So I know you and me we worked at the warehouse. Like, what are some things that you have found that, like, what are some common things that you see on like some of our equipment that just go bad? I know you were working.
Oh boy. Like, I mean switches, faders, different, hardware things where it's just like, the electronics that
Yeah.
pop in and stuff. I don't know. It's nothing like.
It's not, but it's just one of those things where, like, man, people got to start doing that to their equipment. Especially, you know what? I was QCing a bunch of my equipment on a last. I was doing a job for a children's theater company, and I had a bunch of cables that were just gnarly bad. I was like, I had little shorts in half my cables. I'm like, oh man, I have to like resolder some of my cables. Like, you never think about doing that to your own equipment. You go to a job and you're like, oh, okay, well, all of a sudden now you're like bringing, oh, I know all my cables work because I made them, and all of a sudden, oh, well, I made them like 12 years ago, and
Yeah, it's a lot of like you're going through stuff and finding like, oh, this cable is older than I am and it is still in use, and you're like, maybe we shouldn't be using this one still.
It's true. I know like recently I did a couple cables I had, and I ended up switching out. I had some extra connections. I ended up cutting the ends off. I bought like a huge PA system from this one guy a couple years back, and I had a couple of the cables that were in a bin. Well, apparently they must have got water damage, and they were just green. So I was like, oh, but I don't want to get rid of the cable. The cable was good. I checked all the cable out, so I ended up cutting all the ends off. But haven't created any kind of.
I've definitely worked like properties where it's been like that one cable that doesn't have a ground, but it's the only 100-foot you have, and
10-foot runs. Click, 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 click. Oh,
but even that, like sometimes there was like, I worked a property out in the suburbs that was just, there was a certain point where we're just out of cable, and we're like, well, there's no time to call VER or something, or some other, outsource to get something, or unless you want to run to Home Depot or something. But
a Home Depot to get what, like an XLR? That's good.
to get power. That was the one thing we kept running out of, because they do these big, large convention spaces and not necessarily convention halls. And I don't know. Hotels do some silly stuff sometimes.
Yeah, especially here's one. Like, man, like, I'm so happy. I don't even know if I'm happy about this. It wouldn't have even mattered. But man, like this whole virus thing, the CV virus, man, like I got out of the trade show industry to go into an industry that I thought was booming good, and look at me, woo!
Oh yeah.
So, but
well,
I think it's everyone. Everybody. Like, no one's seen that coming. You know what I'm saying? I think one of those things where we will keep, as I've told viewers, I said we'll make it. It's gonna be longer than I think people have expected for our industry to bounce back, but I think people are gonna party. They're gonna want to get out of the house. The DJs will come back. The trade shows will come back. And you know what? Maybe as a thought, maybe next year, because there was no business, maybe it's a huge deal to get it in groove, like, oh man, we gotta party. We gotta push our stuff. We gotta push things more. And our clients are gonna say, oh man, we need to have a larger venue. We need more people. And there's, instead of a small event, it's going to be a large event. I think it's going to explode for us. What's your thought?
Possibly. I'm kind of interested to see like what happens. Like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of artists that are kind of like at home right now, in our industry included, where it's like they have so much time to like put ideas together and maybe work on things that they didn't have a chance because they were either touring or like working or some other stuff. So I think there's a lot of creative output that is happening right now, and there's a lot of stuff that like hasn't, like, obviously, like traditional radio being what traditional radio was, there's streaming and whatnot, but there's still some levels there where we're missing. Like, well, you can't necessarily stream music and can't have a traditional radio show on like a Twitch or like a different thing. So it's interesting to see like what kind of develops, just because we're all caught twiddling our thumbs right now. And then like after this I mean, obviously, it's going to be like there's going to be a lot more demand, I think, because we have all those events that we've lost that need to go on, that were scheduled, that were like specific big ticket items, and then there's going to be a whole lot of other stuff. Just I think from a lot of people.
It is true,
yeah.
and I think one thing that I'm wondering about the concerts this summer, and I had a thought. If things don't happen, I'm wondering if a bunch of concerts, a bunch of musicians are gonna, maybe they'll do more festivals next year. Maybe they'll cancel all events this year and do a huge mega festivals. I mean, that would be, I know it would be probably less events, but maybe it would be like a week event, like Riot Fest and all that stuff, but like even bigger. 2 weeks worth of
2 weeks until full week.
2-3 weeks of just full. Can you see Millennial Park? 3 weeks worth of every
I
show.
don't want to see 3 weeks of Lollapalooza people. I mean, just 3 weeks of guests? No.
3 weeks of, oh man, that engineer. What happens if it's the same engineer? What if it's one engineer and he's just, for 3 weeks straight, he's just has to mix all these bands?
I'd be more interested, like, given this dead time, like if like we started like packing some of these like stadiums and started like streaming and then just no audience or something. But I
literally said that. I said, why can't we do some of these sports with no one in there? But then it's a safety thing. And okay, fine, you're gonna have, but at that point, you don't need
smaller groups.
But you don't need a huge venue.
No,
I would think you could have.
What Flogging Molly did.
Yeah, I mean, but then on the other hand, well, and it would be a lot cheaper. You know what? We may see it. We may see concerts. We may see concerts. Maybe streaming concerts. Maybe you record the concerts. Maybe the concerts are, they're going to be at the musician's house. They do an actual concert with engineers coming in, and the only thing is, it's the risk.
Live at Daryl's, Daryl Hall.
Yeah, well, maybe I can get a band to play here. Man, you know what? Maybe I should do that. What do you think? You think that'll be a cool thing for all my viewers?
Maybe. I wonder if like we'll have the like be streaming like like the compilation videos on YouTube where it's like you got like a thing and everything that just all on stream but I don't think the latency would work, but man, I think it'd be cool.
You know what? I would really love that. I don't think we're there yet.
No. But maybe.
Technology is not 100%, and and it's the internet. That's the problem. That's where most of the problems are. It's the internet lag.
Latency issues. But it would be cool.
I suppose. Well,
I wish I could just get together with so many people that would be like, let's jam. But,
we could. You start singing a song with someone and then all of a sudden you realize they're like 2 seconds off.
Yeah. You're like, no.
That's good. But Eric, nice talking to you. Sure. I appreciate it. You have a fantastic day. We'll definitely talk more. We'll definitely do some more videos, and I'll talk to you later.
All right,
remember, guys.
Good.
Yeah, and remember, guys, and you too, Eric. Go to themixisalmostperfect.com. I'm Michael.
I'm Eric.
And you're Eric. Nice talking to you. Bye.